if you want to scale your business, you need to look at where the pinch points are. And most often it's you. I work very hard in my business to not be the pinch point. And so what that means is I only do the things that only I can do. Because if I try to do other things, one, I don't like them, so I resist doing them. And that's, like tech. It just makes me, I can do it. I'm good at it, but I don't like it. And I just go, it just makes me unhappy. But it also, I'm slower at it because I don't like doing it and I resist it. And it lowers my energy level. If you are burnt out, you will shut down your business.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets, the podcast where we talk with successful career coaches on how they built their success and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is Davis Nguyen, and I'm the founder of Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to 7 and 8 figures without burning out. Before Purple Circle, I started and scaled several 7 and 8 figure career coaching businesses myself and consulted with 2 career coaching businesses that are now doing over $100 million each. Whether you're an established coach or just building your practice for the first time, you'll discover the secrets to elevating your coaching business.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Career Coaching Secrets podcast. I'm your host, Regan, and today's guest is no stranger to deep transformation and powerful awakenings. Kelle Sparta is a transformational shaman, energetic mastery mentor, and the author of The Overachiever's Guide to Spiritual Awakening. She's also the host of the Spirit Sherpa podcast, ranked in the top 2% of all podcasts globally. For over 30 years, Kelle has guided spiritual seekers, coaches, and conscious business leaders through profound breakthroughs, not by offering surface-level tools, but by initiating them into a version of themselves that no longer needs them. Her work blends psychic insight, shadow work, and real energetic skill to help people step into their wholeness and purpose. And it's a pleasure for me to have her on the podcast today. Welcome to the show, Kelle.
Thanks so much for having me here, Regan. You make me sound amazing.
It's all what you've done, the work that you've put through. And it's a pleasure for me to have you on today. And it's always a pleasure for me to have actually coaches that have been doing this for so many years. So I want to know, tell me a little bit more. What inspired you to become a coach and then start your own coaching business?
Well, it's so funny when people ask me this question because I don't know that there was any one moment that I decided, because honestly, my mother raised me in the New Age movement. And so I was studying Seth and Ram Dass and Abraham Hicks and J.C. Knight. And my mother brought home EST, which was a earlier, not kinder, not gentler version of the Landmark Forum when I was 6 years old, right? So I've been doing this stuff my whole life. And I actually have high school yearbook signatures that read like client testimonials. So it's not really so much what I do as who I am. And I started coaching way back when I was selling real estate and I was training new real estate agents. And I ended up doing spiritual coaching with them. And then I became a national trainer in the real estate industry and I was doing coaching with them, right? And then I was like, okay, it's time to transition out of real estate and do business coaching. And I was doing spiritual coaching with them. And I was like, okay, this is just what I do because that's where the conversations go, right? And so, it's just always been there.
Yeah, so interesting. Spiritual coaching in the real estate industry is a really interesting start. I always see, because all my life, I've been working in marketing, digital marketing. I always see the people who work in the real estate as people who don't stress too much or people who have a very nice living. They get to go out, watch these properties. And it seems to me that it's a good lifestyle. So I didn't think there was
real estate agents. The average real estate agent is working an insane number of hours. They're making like 50 cents an hour and they are stressed to the max. There are more broken marriages in real estate than most other professions. And a lot of people are friends of Bill W. So for Alcoholics Anonymous. Yes. So it's a very stressful career. And so I did a lot of work with people trying to pull their stress levels down.
So after real estate, then you moved on to a broader audience. How does it evolve after?
Yeah. So I went into a broader business-based audience and I called myself the business shaman for a while. And that got me some funny looks in 2005. but yeah, I did broader based business coaching. I did a bunch of stuff. It was in my local area. I lived in Boston, Massachusetts at the time, and so I did a lot of networking and a lot of working with business owners in the local area. And I did a wide swath of businesses. I mean, everything from a patent attorney to a fashion designer to a Renaissance fair haunted house theme park. I mean, you name it. I wide swath of stuff. And then I was like, you know what I'm really passionate about is the spiritual work. And I'd always been doing it on the side, right? And sometimes with clients who were open, right? But it was really more important to me to do, at my core, I'm all about empowerment and evolution, right? Identity shift, right? I'm an initiatrix. I initiate people from one state of being to the next. I carry the energy of transformation. And so that's what I've done ever since. And so it's been almost 20 years since I launched this company. And I've been through so many iterations. It's been terrifying. Yeah.
So you mean iterations in terms of like the type of coaching you were doing?
Well, so it's really when you're dealing with something that's esoteric like I do, right? Finding the way to phrase what you do, especially when your toolbox is as wide and as deep as mine is, right? People are like, well, what can you do? I'm like, almost anything. Not calculus, but almost anything else, right? I'm really good at a lot of different things, which is it's not a puff. It's just true. And that's often true for people who are in the spiritual field, right? We have a lot of different things that we do, and how that evolves for each person is different. And so finding the language to say what you do is often one of the most challenging things. And I've worked with a lot of spiritual entrepreneurs on their languaging for just that reason, because you get stuck in the process, or you get stuck in, well, it's different for everybody, or, oh, I'm custom designing it, but nothing about what the outcome is. Or, there's like all this wobbly wobbly, mushy language that you're trying to explain to people. So it took me a decade to explain to figure out how to language the transformational retreats that I would do with a friend of mine. And finally, after a decade of trying to find the way to get people to understand it without having to explain the whole freaking process to them, I finally said, those moments in your life where you are brought to a choice point, and that that when you make that choice, no matter which way you go, your life will never be the same again. And everybody goes, yeah. And I go, we manufacture those experiences and we make them available to you on an on-demand basis. And it's just, that's what we do. We walk you up to those choice points and help you to walk across so that you can make significant permanent change in your life. But it took me a decade to find that language. Right? A decade, and talking to so many people in the process, right? So when you do that, you have a lot of false starts. And so, then you get to the point where you've tried things and every time you try something, you give yourself less time to make it successful because you're so tired of trying things and having them not work. And so you end up in what I call the panic pivot of, well, that didn't work, I'll try that. That didn't work. 2 weeks later, I'll try something different. It's like, give it a chance, right? And so, there's been this whole evolution for me. And it took me until 2017 to really codify what it was that I was doing. And even then, it evolved and morphed. I went from one program to 2 to 3, and now I've got several. But it's a process. It's a process of figuring out how to language what you do and how to codify it and quantify it.
So you have several programs. In terms of like your core offer, like your core program, how does the transformation look like for someone that goes through it?
So people ask me about my core program all the time, and my core program is a series. So because people come to me at different stages in their evolution, right? So if they're just getting started, they come into the Welcome to the Woo program. And so there's a 3-part series that you are going through when you go through transformation. The first thing you have to do is you have to get yourself to mental, emotional, and energetic safety. That's my Welcome to the Woo program. That is designed to get your monkey mind to shut up and your anxiety to come down and your stress levels to reduce to the point where you have the bandwidth to actually make change, right? Because up until then, you're so busy defending against all the stuff coming at your face that you don't have any bandwidth for the change. So that's the first program. The second program is Woo Squared. That one is all about solidifying your sense of self, your identity, and your ability to stand firmly and be comfortable in your own skin, right? And so that one is claim your space and set your boundaries, own your power, internalize your sense of value, learn how to love yourself. In there, you're also going to drain the well of rage and open the heart and do a lot of energetic work to help you along the way, right? That part of it solidifies your energetic container, which allows you to hold space for yourself to do your shadow work. So if you've ever tried to do your shadow work and failed, it was because you didn't have a solid energetic container and, a solid sense of self. And so stage 3 is Woo You and Psychic Mastery Development. I have 2 programs that I do at the same time. And that one is stepping into your sovereignty. Sovereignty being, I make powerful decisions on a conscious level for my life, and I am in conscious control of my experience. And so that's sovereignty. You're stepping into sovereignty and purpose. And so in that program, what we're doing is we're discovering what your energetic gifts are. We're looking at self-inquiry and how do you get you've become aware of what all your buttons and your triggers are. How do you unwind them, right? How do you uninstall them? And then we're also mapping out the psyche. And so that you know exactly where all your buttons are and how they're operating. And so even if you haven't uninstalled them, you know where they are. They're not a surprise anymore, right? So it's the area where a friend of mine years ago, we used to call it the low baggage club, right? It's like all your baggage is small and neatly packed and neatly labeled, and you know where it all is. That is what makes you safe to work with others. That's when you come out of the wounded healer dynamic. Because when you are at the stage where whatever buttons you have left are at the level that if they get punched, and I mean, hit hard, you go, oof, I'll look at that later. And then you can continue to be present with your client, right? So that's what that's designed to do there. And then the Psychic Mastery Program is designed to help you step into full facility and understanding of the energetic world and how to operate within it, not on a recipe basis. So a lot of people who teach energetics will teach, here's the protocol. Right? You're going to do this, then that, then that, and then that. That's great. But if you don't understand why you're doing the protocol, and if you don't understand where that came from, then you can't modify the protocol. If you need something slightly different, you can't create something new. I teach people, instead of teaching recipes, I teach people how to be a chef. And so I teach them how to understand the world enough that they can really operate within it and create their own structures.
Interesting. So it's like you graduate in different levels of your self-mastery in a way. So initially, if I heard that correctly, or from what I understood, is first program, you're a person that there's a lot of noise. You got to reduce that noise. You got to clear all the mess. Second one is more about being maybe self-aware of what's going on and just like listening to you, living under your own skin, knowing how that's like. And the third one, you actually have control. You are in control of yourself. That is very interesting. And do you find that people might often relapse to like from stage 3 to stage 2 to stage 1?
Not generally. No.
So that's unlikely.
Yeah, I mean, once in a blue moon, somebody will come back across something that they're like, oh, I'm doing this again. Let me go look at the earlier lesson because I need a refresher, right? But it's usually one small piece of their life, right? It's not the whole thing. It's not unusual. So I have people do a self-assessment. And in the first program, which is only 4 months long, in the first program, they do a self-assessment, and it is not uncommon. It's actually quite common for people to do the self-assessment in the second time. And I give them a number scale. And I say from 1 to 10, rate your life on these different areas of your life. There's like 8 different areas. And inevitably, multiple people every single time they turn this in are like, well, I'm at the exact same number, but my scale has changed. What I think is possible has changed. And where I was a 7 on the previous scale would have been a 3 on this scale. And I'm at a 7 on my new scale now. And so in 4 months, people are completely changing the scale and increasing where they are in their experience of it. So it's very transformational. So all of this came from my own personal journey. I spent 25 years doing hardcore personal growth work. And then every time something worked, I wrote it down. Mm-hmm. And then I took that and I turned it into my program. So, or programs, I should say. So, this is stuff I know works because it worked for me. And then I've walked countless people through it in the interim.
And how long does the whole program, let's say someone taking program 1, 2, 3, graduating?
If they do them all in the time allotted, it's just under 2 years.
2 years.
For 25 years worth of personal growth work and energy training.
Wow. And so if someone finishes that, do they still continue working with you after that?
Sometimes. Some people will move into an apprentice level.
Mm-hmm.
And other people will come for retreats. I do personal retreats and I do group retreats here in Panama. I live in Boquete, Panama now. And some people just go into private coaching. But oftentimes people will stay for longer than the length of the program. They'll be like, oh, I want to hang out in here. I want to do a little more. I want to practice a little more. I like the group environment because all of my programs are in a small group environment with the exception of the apprentice program. But they're all in a small group environment, no more than 15 people in a group. And so people really get to know each other. And it's a place where they really feel connected and they have community because in a lot of places around the U.S. in particular, they don't have anybody who is studying the stuff they're studying. And so having that connection to others, it was so funny. I did a retreat in November and it's June when we're recording this. And, I did this retreat and within a month and a half of getting back from the retreat, multiple people had been to visit each other from the retreat and they lived in different states. Like not the small New England states either. One was Wisconsin, went to Nevada, and somebody from Phoenix went to Houston. I'm like, these are not small trips, but they're like going off to visit each other and they were still talking to each other months after the retreat. Right. So and that's unusual. When you go to a retreat, usually you come back, you've got a month max before the woo wears off. Right. And that's not what they're reporting. So,
wow. Well, it seems like you built a very strong sense of community for people that are with you in that community. We're actually doing retreats as well. We did one on May. We did it in Mexico in Tulum. We really thought that was very powerful. We don't know yet how that's gonna look like afterwards. I don't know if people are gonna visit each other. Well, some of the coaches are very far from each other. One of them, like a couple are in Switzerland, some are in US, some are all the way in Asia.
Well, if you'd like some advice on how to make your retreats more memorable and more transformational, I am happy to have a conversation. I've been doing this for 30 years.
Be happy to have that conversation. So I want to ask you right now with your coaching business, how does the future look like? Do you have any goals you're working towards, like in the next 1 to 3 years or so?
Yeah. So a year or two ago, I trained up several coaches in my model, and they're all certified for my first level program. I have already turned over that program to one of those coaches, and will be expanding to work with more of them. And the same coach who's currently running my first level program is going to be taking over the second level one as well. And so I will be focusing on the third program, the retreats and the apprenticeship.
Interesting. And when it comes to like you working with these coaches that are certified from your program, how does that work? They're just like they can use your program. Is there some partnership together for them to use it? How does that look like? I'm just wondering because there's coaches that I've had on the podcast that are also in your level, like have been doing this for many years, have created their own programs and could potentially do the same thing. How does that partnership look like?
Yeah, so it's different for some of the coaches than for others. So the base level program that I offered was you'll coach my program. If I provide you the lead, then I get X amount of dollars. And if you provide the lead, then you get the same amount of dollars. If I close the sale, then I get that sales commission. If you close it, you get it. And then you license my materials for each person for X amount of dollars of each one, right? And that I'm not giving you numbers because they're different for each level, right?
Yeah.
But that's the model, and they use my platform. I actually provide them with everything they need. I've got a Go High Level set up. So I provide, if they want a website, they've got a website, they've got calendar, they've got CRM, they've got everything they could need on the back end, and they get access to all of my sequences and all of my funnels. And so they can just use those, and then they get referral fees for anybody that they send into the next level of the program and things like that. So, and then the My Learning platform is where they enroll people. And that's how I track what sales are made is because all of the courses are run on my platform. So in order to enroll them, they have to do that. I have one person who is operating a little differently. She has folded in my system underneath a larger program of what she's doing. So, she just pays me a flat fee licensing fee for it and just uses it with that.
Interesting. So they're kind of like sub accounts within your own agency in Go Level.
Exactly.
We also use Go Level, so we found it to be very good for that type of use case, especially. And when it comes to investments, just moving away from this topic, what is, and we talked a little bit about it earlier, and you looked up one company, what is like the good investment that you've seen a lot of value from?
Yeah. So my best investment ever was my membership in the Podcast Marketing Academy. I paid for the course, and it's like 3 or 4 years later, and I still jump in every so often on a coaching call here and there. And I still jump in and I read every newsletter. So there's a Jeremy Enns from Counterweight Creative is the one who runs this program, and he runs his scrappy podcasting newsletter, and it is a wealth of information, and I love it. And it's really one of the only newsletters I read consistently. So it is by far the best investment in 20 years of coaching. And I have spent over somewhere between $250,000 and $500,000 in coaching and marketing and all that stuff for, and I've done lots of things, lots and lots of things. That I would say my second option would be Peaceful Profits, the book writing company. They were amazing in terms of their content is stellar. I mean, stellar, but it's like 400 and some pieces of content. And I'm like, oh my God, there's no way I can get through all of this, right? It's just so much. And so, I did very well with it right up until I got to the marketing side of it. And then it just didn't work very well for me. To their credit, they checked back in with me a year and a half later. And I was like, no, it didn't work. And they were like, well, come back in. Don't pay more. Just come back in and we'll make it work. And so to their credit, they did. I did not take them up on it because at the time I was in the middle of a rebrand and launching other things. And I was like, I don't have time, right? So one thing I will give as advice is please do not try to do multiple large things at once. And if somebody says rebrand something, tell them no. Because I did a rebrand and I was so regretted it. It was so much work. It took like 5 times longer than I thought it was going to get everything done. And then I was still months of finding the old brand in places. So, yeah.
At the beginning, we mentioned on your intro as well, and you mentioned it with your investment right now in regards to podcasting. Now, there's been over 500, you mentioned, podcast episodes that you've done over time. Is that the main, in terms of marketing channel that works best for you? Or is there others as well, just as good as that?
Yeah, the vast majority of my income comes in off my podcast. I am in the process of developing some other channels. I've done a quiz in the past, which did remarkably well for getting people onto my mailing list, and cheaply, like $4.50 a lead, right? Just insanely cheap because people were sharing the quiz, right? But I had a crappy conversion system. I did not convert a single person off of that in 90 days. So I tracked it for 90 days, each person. Now, whether any of them converted later, I don't know. I didn't follow it that far. But in 90 days, nobody converted. And I was like, that ain't good. So I shut down the advertising for it and went back in. And I've just restructured and rewritten all of the follow-up sequences with a different approach. And we're going to relaunch again in a few days. And then we'll see how that does. So I know the ads will produce. It's just a matter of whether or not they'll convert.
So when it comes to like this quiz, you ran ads on it, right? Was there like Facebook ads, Google
Facebook
ads?
Yeah.
Facebook ads. Okay, cool. And so there's an offer, like, because we've done that too. There's an offer at the ad that gets them to fill in the quiz. The quiz kind of works as a qualifier also for you. And then at the end, you said you didn't convert them. So you were not pushing them to even schedule a call after they finished it.
I was.
Oh.
They just didn't do it. So the beautiful thing about my quiz is that it actually tells them which program they're right for. And so that's fantastic, right? So they get to the end and they're like, oh, this is where I am and this is what I need to do next. Great, right? I think I went too much into education and not enough into outcome on the original sequence, right? And so I had I wrote individual responses for each quiz outcome. And so there were 5 different ones. So I had 5 different sequences that came off of the quiz. So it was not just generic, but I think they got stuck in the weeds. There was a video and it explained the whole process of evolution, like I just talked to you about. And I think that it was just too much. So I have scaled it back to only talk about the level that they're on and only talk about what's going next from there to keep them focused and keep them on track.
Okay, I see. Would that be like, we talked a little bit about this at the beginning as well, that we talk what would be like a challenge that you're working towards? Would that be one of the challenges you're working towards fixing right now, or is there other challenges as well?
So it's a combination of 2 different things, right? So we moved to Go High Level late last year. Mm-hmm. And so the other piece of the other challenge has been getting everything shifted over and getting all the new funnels written and set up and right? It's so much because I am anal hyphen retentive, right? I got so many tags there. I don't even know. I've got to have hundreds of tags, right? And then being able to trigger everything and make sure that nobody's getting 2 sequences at the same time, because I once had somebody call me up and say, I had to unsubscribe and I didn't want to, but I got 5 emails in a day. And I was like, what? She's like, yeah, can you fix it and let me know so I can resubscribe?
Mm-hmm. We've got that too. So we had initially when we started using, at our beginning, when we started using Go High Level, that when someone would unsubscribe or do not contact me, they would mark that. Then we didn't know how to get them back in if they wanted to get back in because it just wouldn't allow us to do that.
Well, you have to delete them and then add them back in. That's what you got to do. Yeah, I had somebody who unsubscribed multiple times, and I personally unsubscribed her, and she still got an email. And I was like, she's like, I don't appreciate it. I was like, I'm upset too. I'm like, I'm really upset.
Yeah. And what was the CRM you were using before this?
I was in ConvertKit or Kit now, and I was using HubSpot.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. And so, I've used a bunch of different things over the years, but those were the big ones. And then we had Calendly. We had like 15 different apps that we were using that we got to be like, nope, all into Go High Level. Good to go. I did not move my courses though. Okay. I have way too many courses to try and move them. It's insane. And I love my course platform. I love it so much. It's Member Vault. And it is so pretty and it's so easy to use. And the thing that they have that nobody else had when I was last looking is they allow you to export your courses into a JSON file, which is not super useful for anything except you can upload the JSON file to ChatGPT and it will read your entire course and it will provide you with marketing materials based on the course, which is fantastic. Awesome. Right? Now it will hallucinate sometimes and say, oh, and it does this. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. Read that again because you didn't get that right. But yeah, but it's fantastic because then I don't have to, like one of my courses is a year long. It's got hundreds of pieces of content. I don't have time to write all that stuff down to ChatGPT.
Yeah, lovely. We were using Kajabi before, so I thought he was going to say Kajabi, but yeah, I think that's better. Okay, cool. So is there any final advice you'd like to give to other coaches who are looking to scale their impact?
So what I would say, one of the biggest challenges with entrepreneurs in general is that they get bored of their own marketing and they change things that are working. If it's working, don't touch it. I don't care how tired you are of it. I don't care how bored you are with it. If it's working, do not mess with it because it is hard to find things that work. Leave it alone. If you want to do something new and add that to it, great. Just don't turn off the thing that's already working. That's number one. Number two is if you want to scale your business, you need to look at where the pinch points are. And most often it's you. I work very hard in my business to not be the pinch point. And so what that means is I only do the things that only I can do. Because if I try to do other things, one, I don't like them. So I resist doing them. And that's, like tech. It just makes me, I can do it. I'm good at it, but I don't like it. And I just go, it just makes me unhappy. But it also, I'm slower at it because I don't like doing it and I resist it. And it lowers my energy level. And one of the things, especially if you're anywhere in the energetic world, if you are burnt out, you will shut down your business. energetically. People will just cancel appointments or not make appointments or whatever. If you are fried, if you find that your business is ticking along great and then suddenly it's not, it's because you're burned out. Go take a weekend off. Go do something fun. Step away from your business entirely. I know it's counterintuitive because you're like, oh, I don't have any business. But you got to get away, because the reason you have no business is because you're a little crispy critter, right? And when you come back and you're refreshed, then people will start scheduling again, and you will close more deals and you will do better, right? So that's the other piece.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kelly. And just like you said, actually, it's very hard to fake energy also. Like, you cannot fake it. People will read through it directly.
I'm a shaman and I can't fake it. I can hold up a mask for a little bit, but my people are good enough to know when I'm doing that. And they're like, what's going on there? And I'm like, yeah, I'm a little tired.
Cool. So for anyone who wants to find you or connect with you after watching this podcast, they can go into the LinkedIn account, Kelle Sparta, or there's a ton of places actually. They can go into your website, kellesparta.com. They can go into spiritsharpapodcast.com and watch your podcast. Is there any other place they could go to find you?
So many places. I'm on every
Google,
platform.
maybe?
I'm
Cool.
on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. I'm on TikTok, although my TikTok channel was meant to be a slice of life when I started it, and we were moving to Panama at the time. So it's really kind of become a moving to Panama channel. So if you're curious, hey, check yourself out. There's very little in there about this stuff. And then, I've got an Instagram and an X. I'm almost never on those, but I do cross post to those. Thank you for having me. It's been great. This was fun.
Yeah, this was very much fun for me and for anyone who's going to listen, actually. So thank you.
Awesome.
That's it for this episode of Career Coaching Secrets. If you enjoyed this conversation, you can subscribe to YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to this episode to catch future episodes. This conversation was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to 7 and 8 figures without burning out. To learn more about Purple Circle, our community, and how we can help you grow your business, visit joinpurplecircle.com.